Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go!
The NFC North is ours, and we definitely had to earn it this time. Let's talk about that win and more on this pre-Christmas edition of your Packers Fan Podcast right now.
I've never been more happy to hand the lead over to Wayne as I am this week. I'm Scott Clark, and I'm so excited and relieved to say that the Packers are NFC North champs. What a great second half of football this was. Am I right? Welcome to the Packers Fan Podcast, the show created by and for your Green Bay Packers.
And this is episode 197, recorded late night, December 23rd, 2019, immediately following the Packers win over the Vikes. And I'm Wayne Henderson. It sure is great to win the NFC North Division title while stabbing the Vikes and their fans in the heart at the same time. So on this edition, the Packers are 12-3. We're going to talk about it.
Also, we're going to share some of your listener feedback. We did get some calls after the game, so we're going to listen to those. And if you'd like to check out the episode show notes, you can do so at PackersFanPodcast.com and in the details area of your podcast player. And let's kick things right off the bat with some highlights from this Packers victory in Minnesota. And first off, we got to start by talking about Zadarius Smith.
Oh, man.
Holy cow. What a game that dude had. What was the final count? Was it 3 or 4 sacks that he had?
I thought it was over 10. It just seemed like every time I looked up, hey, there's Z Smith again. It was amazing. This has got to be his best game as a Packer so far.
It really does, and it was kind of strange just seeing one of the Smith brothers, but I'll take it. Just seeing Cousins planted on the turf so many times in one game was a lot of fun to see, and I mean, we really could just say the whole defense in general, even in the first half, which was rougher for us offensively, the defense held their own. They did allow that one score, but we were really lucky to go into the first half by only trailing by 1 point. And I think that was due to the defense, who really stood their own and held them to a field goal when we needed them to. And just all around, they did fantastic the entire game.
Yeah, pretty solid all night long. Kenny Clark made some great moves. Kevin King with that interception at the exact right moment.
Yeah, because he totally redeemed himself after that. After leaving that wide receiver wide open on 3rd and 18, which drove me a little bit crazy. But yeah, he totally redeemed himself on the next play and intercepted. Although, can somebody please tell Kevin King how to hold the ball after you intercept it? Because running with it, palming it with one hand is not a good thing. Please don't do that.
Right. I can't believe that he actually was able to catch it in that fashion. And then, you're right, the way he was carrying it, I thought at any moment it could be knocked back out. But hallelujah, it did not happen this time.
Absolutely. Also, highlight of Aaron Jones. He had several great runs, including the dagger in the fourth quarter, which was awesome to see. I kept saying throughout the entire game, and Wayne, you can attest to this because you and I were chatting during this game, we kept trying to go for these daggers in the air, and it just wasn't working. We were barely getting any pass plays over 10 yards. I said, we need to run the ball, keep running the ball, and hope for those opportunities to get outside and streak. And what do you know? That's exactly what he did in the fourth quarter, and that was pretty much sealing the deal at that point. It was great.
Yeah, because no matter how good the Vikings defense can be, if they're out on the field for that long, eventually you're going to be able to run all over them.
Exactly. And that's so cool to say as a Packers fan who has been a fan of this team for so long, that has been almost exclusively a passing team. We've never had like this awesome running game. And now we've got Aaron Jones and even Jamal Williams that are just such a force to be reckoned with. I mean, these are top tier running backs in the league, and I can't remember the last time that we had a top tier running back on our offense.
It's been a while. Another great highlight from this game tonight was hearing chants of "Go Pack, go" coming out of Minnesota at least 7 or 8 times during the game. I could hear that coming through the TV, and yeah, it was.
I definitely heard that way more than I heard "Skull." Which was kind of cool.
Goodness, because Skull is the worst of all of the NFL slogans. It is just Dumbzilla.
Dumbzilla.
Yeah.
It was so cool to hear. It was nice that there were that many Packers fans there too. So I'm really excited. But we got to talk about some lowlights too. We could just say the first half of the game. Could we just stop right there, man, and just say the first half of the game was pretty much lowlights outside of the defense? But we'll get into more specifics. That fumble early on, which led to the Vikings getting 3 points, was not a good way to start the game in any sense. It was good that we held them to the field goal, but still, to actually receive the kickoff and lose a fumble and let them score right off the bat, not a great way to start the game. It was not feeling good in the first quarter.
No, nothing like fumbling in the red zone. It was very frustrating. And then later, when we had the chance, I believe it was the second quarter, to tie the game up, instead of going for the first down around the 6-yard line, we wasted it by basically trying to go for that full touchdown, like you alluded to just a couple minutes ago, going for the dagger over and over on offense, when if we just went for a relatively easy first down, then we could then go for the relatively easy touchdown. But we ended up with 3 points, but at the same time, on the road, you just take the bits and pieces as you get them.
Well, and I'm not sure if you're talking about the same play, because we just watched the game. For those that are listening to this tomorrow, I mean, we're about 10 minutes after the game ended that we're recording this. So
we are currently high on victory.
Yes, but it was the end of the second half when we had the opportunity to score 6. And up to that final play, the clock management was outstanding. The passes were getting out of bounds. We were keeping we were handling the timeouts correctly. And then with 6 or 7 seconds left in the half, Rodgers calls timeout because the play clock was expired, which is very frustrating because we had that one timeout. We basically had one free play to try to do something to score 6 and then line up for a field goal if that didn't work. And what do? We burn a timeout. I would have much rather that they had taken the delay of game penalty, backed up 5 yards, tried again to throw one in the end zone. If it doesn't work, then you line up for a field goal and do that. I just was so frustrated to go into the half with the lead and not get it and still be down by 1.
Yeah, unlike last week's game where we got up early in the scoring part of the game and then frittered it away. There's those delicious desserts again. This time we were behind and shooting ourselves in the foot. And in the second half was when we started to really get our feels, especially since the running game was being effective. The Vikings defense just couldn't be out there all night long. And so on the plus side, the Vikings offense picked a fine week to pretty much have one of their worst showings in decades. That's too bad.
It was great. I mean, they held Cousins to less than 30 yards of passing in the first half.
And he made some crazy plays that were like...
He did. He looked positively scared in that second half.
My favorite part was him trying to do his best Tom Brady, catch the pass on the trick play and dive for it and miss it by about 3 yards, which I'm sure I would have missed it by 10 yards, but I'm not the quarterback of an NFL team being paid millions of dollars. And
right.
For the most part, we ran that game. If it hadn't have been for the, 2 fumbles, the interception, and some of the other mistakes, can you imagine, Scott, what the final score could have been? Because we had that game left and right if it weren't for those mistakes.
Yeah, by all accounts, the stats were in our favor outside of the turnovers. You take those away, and it's a completely different ball game. We could have just dominated far earlier in this game, and it was a very pleasant surprise to see. If our defense can play this way in the playoffs, we have a much better chance than I felt we did last week. So bring it on, guys.
No doubt. And we're going to be talking about the playoff scenarios updated as of the victory tonight. We'll have that a little later in the show. But first, let's check in with some quick listener feedback that came in just in the last 10 minutes from the game before the recording. They gave us calls at 920-3PACK-GO. And we'll start it all off with Megan, who was pretty darn excited, like the rest of us, about the victory.
Can I get a go, Pack, go? Woo! I gave myself a permanent marker tattoo today on my hand, and it said WWARD. And this is in no disrespect to people who refer to that as WWJD, but I faced a lot of hate. This is Megan, by the way. Did I say that? he just, like, had to deal with people making comments and jabbing all day and honestly all month because for the last 5 years, starting December 1st until the end of their season, I wear Packers clothes every day. Sue me. Just kidding. That was a Michael Scott reference. But anyways, I'm so proud of our guys. We fought through a hard battle, honestly, like Vikings D. It was totally defensive, like a defensive game for the first, half. And we had our fair share of mistakes and drops and fumbles and turnovers and I'll just stop talking. But, I mean, we made it. We made it through, and like Aaron's been saying, sure, it can be an ugly win. A win is a win. But it wasn't that ugly. That Aaron Jones touchdown, woo! Love my guys. They're the best. They bring a lot of joy to my life, and it's just super fun to follow them and be along for the ride. I'll probably talk to you guys next week. We are NFC champions, baby! All right. Happy holidays to everybody who celebrates. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Megan. Yes, indeed. What would Aaron Rodgers do? I love that you have that tattooed on your arm with a permanent marker. That's pretty funny. Also, nice little Office reference. I always appreciate that. Glad to hear you like that, and I hope that your burrito is well cooked, that you were cooking in a microwave at the beginning of your voicemail. That was awesome.
That was a good catch there. I wasn't sure if it was the burrito or a tow truck was backing up or just the keys in the ignition, but we love the additional sound effects. Previously, Megan had a co-host calling in with her. This is good stuff. We look forward to hearing from you next week as well. So good to talk about a victory. We also got a call right after the game from listener Jeff.
Hey, Sir Scott, Sir Wayne, this is Jeff giving you a call from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Let's get a big old go, Pack, go, after the victory in Minnesota. So I don't know if you're still taking traditions that households have for Packers games, but one of the traditions that we have here is that we will wear a particular jersey for a game, and if the team loses, then we, of course, wash the jersey immediately to wash the defeat off of that jersey, and then we switch to a new jersey for the next week. And so I've worn Bart Starr, Jordy Nelson, and Aaron Rodgers this year. I am currently wearing David Bakhtiari, and I've been wearing it ever since the San Francisco game, and I'm hoping I get to wear this jersey all the way to the Super Bowl, baby. So pleased for the victory, our first victory in Minnesota at that new stadium, and just thinking about the very first touchdown at that stadium was, of course, Jordy Nelson, and tonight the two touchdowns that mattered the most were Aaron Jones. Go, Pack, go.
Jeff, giving us a call from Wisconsin. Thank you so much for your call. We greatly appreciate it. And I love the idea of that tradition where you wear a Packers jersey. If by some weird chance the Packers lose, then you have to wash that dirty jersey because it's dirty from the loss. But Bakhtiari is carrying you all the way to the Super Bowl, Jeff.
I actually really like that tradition as well. Hopefully you have multiple jerseys because, man, those jerseys can get expensive. I think I've got a Rodgers jersey, I've got a B.J. Raji jersey, and I've got an Aaron Campman jersey in there somewhere, if you believe it. So
classic.
Yeah, I know, right? I could swap out. That only allows 4 losses, so I'd have to start back at the beginning of the cycle if we had more than that. But I really like that. Also, I love, and I apologize, Jeff, that Wayne here can't pronounce Wauwatosa, but I'm from Wisconsin, so I know what you're talking about, man. I'm from Waukesha area, so I got you, bro.
Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! Happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas to a few. What a win. NFC champs again. Long live the Kings of the North. What a great evening. I caught up with some friends at the local Packers bar. First time this season. Enjoyed the game. It was wonderful to see. Great team victory. The defense. Can't say enough about the Smith brothers, in particular Zadarius Smith. Tremendous game. He was all over the field. That's all I kept saying all night. Man, who's blocking him? What a game. Kevin King, glad to see that when healthy, he is growing up before our eyes. He's had a really good season. Yair Alexander. He got burnt a little bit by Diggs early in the game for a touchdown, but he had a really good game because Diggs was pretty much quiet all night. The offensive line, people won't talk enough about them. They gave Rodgers a lot of time. I mean, he didn't put up spectacular numbers, but he had to, I don't know what was going on with the balls earlier in the game. It was really shocking to see. I mean, it was so shocking that if they were playing the Patriots, people would be screaming for an investigation. How many times they fumbled? Like 5 times. Well, 5 times in the first half. I think they lost 3 of them. It was a really, really interesting first half. But like I said, we win ugly. I knew once it was 10-9 going into the half, I was like, oh, this is our type of game. It was wonderful to see. Very, very thankful for the win. Rodgers, like I said, he's great when he needs to be. He's not going to be spectacular throughout the games anymore. He's picking and choosing the spots, but we now control our own destiny. We beat Detroit next week. We could possibly get a number 1 seed. I think at worst a number 2 seed, someone said, which is great to hear. We definitely get a bye week. And just go from there, get in and then go from there. So enjoy the holidays, everyone. Love the podcast. Andre in LA, go Pack Go, green and gold till I'm dead and cold.
Andre in LA, thank you yet again for giving us a call. And yes, indeed, it is so great to be the Kings of the North yet again, where we deserve to be. And excellent points about Jair Alexander and our offensive line giving Aaron Rodgers so much time during that game last night. Even though it didn't yield a lot of great results, he had time a lot of the time, and that was good. And great question, Andre, about the balls in the first half, because I thought the lack of weather affecting the game would actually benefit the play. But for whatever reason, those balls were slippery or weirdly inflated. I don't know what was going on, but it was crazy how many fumbles there were. And yes, a chance. There is a chance at the number 1 seed. Details in just a little bit here on your Packers Fan Podcast. Thanks again, Andre. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you as well. Go Pack Go.
Steven Verheeren checking in from Palace Park. And how much could you really like of that game? I mean, yeah, I know the Packers win 23-10, but they pretty much did not deserve this win. But I know, as you guys always say, a win is 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 a win. No matter how many times. But this clearly is not one of the best games of the season. Which we should hopefully play a better game than that. And can we, for first time in quite a few seasons, sweep the NFC North? This was a very lucky win for them. And I hope they do a lot better against Detroit Lions. Go Pack Go, and please, no more of these heart attack games.
All right, Steven. Well, thank you so much for the call. And, hey, I am happy to buy Wayne Culver's if that's what it takes for us to keep winning these games. But, as we'll see, it's a tighter race than you think it is. We still got one more game left in the regular season. And then the playoffs, man. That's where it's going to be. That's where it's going to really be decided. So I'm really surprised by his take on the Packers' play this week, though, because I will agree with you on the first half that the way they were playing in the first half was definitely not playoff caliber football. But I really feel like they stepped it up in the second half. We had 2 scores in the second half. We had some massive stops. We had a turnover. I feel like if Green Bay plays like they did in the third and fourth quarter for the rest of the season, we have a pretty decent shot, but not in the first half. What do you think, Wayne?
I'm going to agree 100%. I mean, the first half, choppy. The second half was pretty darn strong. And as far as whether or not we deserve to win that game, heck yeah, we deserve to win that game. The Vikings decided not to show up. Their offense was pretty darn pathetic. And even with us practically trying to give them the game in the first half with all those turnovers, it wasn't a stellar game for the Packers all around, but we did far superior to what the Vikings did. And don't forget, the Vikings do have a very, very good defense, and the secret to beating them was just keeping the defense out there so long that, there wasn't anything else they could really do.
Yeah, their secondary in particular is just filthy. It was insane to watch them pick apart whatever Aaron Rodgers was doing.
Oh,
but then
yeah.
we finally decided to give up this long game and start clicking with short passes and our running game, which we actually have now, and that's where we dominated. And I want to see more of that.
So I think you could chop that up to the fact that we actually made some good halftime adjustments.
Yes, I agree. I mean, that's always been our MO, I feel like, ever since I was a kid, was, even if we came out the gate not swinging strong, we always came back in the third quarter when we won games. So I like that that's a thing, but I would much rather do what you like, Wayne, is for them to come out swinging right away and up by 2 or 3 scores going into the half. That would make me feel a lot better and make the game much more enjoyable to watch.
Maybe for the rest of the games of this season, that'll be what happens. Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed, Scott. Fingers crossed.
I got it. All fingers, all toes. It's gonna happen, man. Well, thanks so much for the voicemails, guys. We've also got some emails. Our first one comes from Caleb Fisher, a.k.a. the birthday boy. Happy birthday to Caleb. He says, "Hey, Wayne and Scott, Kathy and Roy Fisher coming from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Well, the beginning of the game was very bad, especially when we turned the ball over twice, but what a great birthday present the Packers gave me this year. We were also impressed with the Smith brothers. All in all, there are still so many things we have to work out if we want the first seed. Until next time, this is Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher saying go Pack go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold."
Happy birthday.
Yeah, definitely. What a great birthday gift. I know that we still have things to work out, but I don't know if I agree with the so many as much as I did the last 2 weeks before this. I feel like we're heading in the right direction. We can't expect everything to be perfect after the last 2 weeks we had, but this is a great start. And if they're picking a good time to turn things around right here in the tail end of the season, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Absolutely. And as far as things to work out, of course, we want better play, but really, and we'll give you the full details later, we just beat the Lions and root for the Seahawks. Long story short, spoilers, but full details coming up later in the show. Also on Facebook, coming in at 4:25 a.m. UK time, Peter Allison, who stayed up all night or woke up extra early to watch the Packers play, says, "Wayne Henderson, you said you needed feedback? NFC North champs, Merry Christmas from here in the fine city of Sheffield. This team wins ugly, and with the heart attack warning, I wouldn't have it any other way." Oh, my. Wishing all Packers fans around the world a Merry NFC North champs Christmas, and hopefully a number 1 seed new year. Go Pack go. Fantastic, Peter. Thank you. And whether you stayed up late or woke up early, that's dedication right there. Thanks for your feedback, and go Pack go.
That is, man, I'm a Packers fan, and I would struggle to stay up until 4:25 in the morning to watch a game. So kudos to you, brother. Also on Facebook, Dictus says, "Cheers from Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Go Pack go," and some green and gold football and cheese emojis behind it.
Now, I recognize those emojis.
Yes, yeah, they're hearts and they're footballs and they're cheese. So you're good there, man.
And we get back to normal next week, whatever normal is during the holidays. The Lions-Packers game is going to be early in the day, high noon. So the deadline to get your voicemails and emails in to be part of the regular season finale is Sunday night at 11 p.m. Central. The show won't be complete without your thoughts, so make a note to give us a call at 920-3PACK-GO next Sunday night. And depending on what days of the week we end up playing in the playoffs, call us that night as well. Thanks for your support, your feedback, and go Pack go. Now, let's look ahead, shall we? Your 12-3 Green Bay Packers finished the regular season in Detroit to play the spoiler-minded 3-11-1 Lions Sunday at 12 noon Central. And would you be surprised if I told you that the Packers lead the all-time series over the Lions? Apparently not. No. 101 wins, 72 losses, and 7 ties.
That's a lot of ties.
Yeah, even if it goes back, back to 1930, that's still a lot of ties. First ever game, November 2nd, 1930, the Packers won 47-13. The Lions were called the Spartans at that time, but still 47-13. And the biggest win all time was 1940 when we beat them 50-7. And of course, we all remember December 3rd, 2015. Not just any Hail Mary, but the Hail Mary. 61-yard touchdown pass to Richard Rodgers. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Oh, my goodness, man. There are a few Packer games here or there that I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing, and that is one of those games. I was at a place called Jack's Pub here in town, watching the game. The game was over. We were all getting our coats on. Oh, we'll watch them do this Hail Mary pass real quick, and it not go anywhere. And it connected, and Rodgers came down with that in the end zone. That place just about exploded. It was everybody was hugging and laughing and cheering, and we drank some more beers after that. It was one of my most memorable games of all time. It was really good.
Yeah, and you want to talk about a game that was ugly pretty much the entire game. The Packers were losing the entire game until the final play.
Yep.
And I remember exactly where I was as well. We watched the beginning of the game, most of the first quarter, up at where we were having Bible study at the time, but then we had to get down to business to Bible study, so I didn't see the game, though we checked in periodically at the score, which wasn't good the entire game. And then when it was over, we had to drive home. We listened to the fourth quarter on the radio. Remember radio? On the way home, and and then got home and turned on the TV in the final 2 minutes so I could see only the glory from that game.
That's pretty cool, man. That is awesome. Here's what's interesting about this, and we're going to get into the playoff scenarios in a little bit, but we play at noon Central Time on Sunday next week. The game that's going to matter for us isn't going to go until Monday night. So it's going to depend on if we beat the Lions or not to know if that Monday night game is going to even matter for us or not. But it's going to be an interesting week of football, and I can't wait already.
Yeah, that Sunday night game, the final Sunday night game, the final game of the regular season, Seahawks, 49ers. Basically, every team in the NFC that's in the playoffs is going to be watching that game because it'll decide who plays who, when they play who. There's so much riding on that game. Of course, the Packers do need to beat the Lions. And Scott, you've got to have some ways on how we can do it this time.
Absolutely. I've got some keys to an amazing... Boy, this will be, is it 14th Packers victory if we take this one? Or is it 13th?
This will be 13th if we can beat the Lions to close out the season.
13th. All right, so first off, we have to treat this game like a playoff game. Although we have another week before the playoffs officially start, it's officially playoff season for the Packers. No, we don't have to win for the sake of securing a spot, but for the sake of team morale, this is a must-win game, especially if we want to have a shot at the number one seed, which we'll get to. The Lions are the worst team in the NFC North, and by all accounts, we should win that game. But walking into our first game of the postseason with a Week 17 loss to Detroit is not what we need to be in the right headspace. So treat this game like a playoff game, if nothing else, to get us in the right mentality to go into the playoffs. Secondly, fundamental football. Clearly, the big explosive plays are not working for us this year. We get them few and far between, but we cannot gear all of our plays around that. We need to get back to the basics, which are clearly what is working for us. When we run the ball and make our way down the field with quick plays, those quick slants, we're successful. We need to stop trying to force the big plays because it's just not happening. Spread the ball, do an occasional no huddle, and throw to Adams a little bit less. He did a lot better this game, but spread it around. That's my take. Lastly, strike early and rest towards the end. Yes, we do need to head into our next game with a W behind us, but we also need our players ready to go for that week. So let's come out swinging against the Lions in full force, go into the half up by, 3 scores. Then we can start to relax in the second half and bench some of our starters for a while because I want those players as rested as possible during our first week of the playoffs.
So, Packers 23, Vikings 10. What do you think?
Well, let's see. I predicted the Vikings to win this game. You predicted the Packers to win this game. So it really doesn't matter what the points are this time because you win by default since the Packers did win. So our current tally for 2019 is Wayne at 6 and me at 5. 1 game left of the regular season. So it'd be kind of interesting if we go into the playoffs with a tied score there, man. I'm kind of pulling for that. I know you're not, but...
No, bring on the pressure. The Culver's, cheese curds, Butterburger, custard dessert, pressure, and a Diet Coke to balance things out.
Sure, whatever makes you feel better, man.
That would.
Well, as far as the game, here's my prediction. I'm going to say that this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like we expect. I think the Lions still are a decent team. They just haven't been able to close out. But I think we'll still win by 10. I'm going to go Packers 27, Lions 17.
Okay, whew. I was worried it was going to be the other way around for a minute. Okay, so you're predicting a Packers victory.
I am.
You and the listener of the Packers Fan Podcast will appreciate that. Okay, 10-point victory. I see Packers 24, Lions 16, so very, very close to the same. Although, in my heart, I would still like it to be a huge blowout and be the biggest blowout in Lions-Packers game history. But 24-16, Packers win. Go, Pack, go.
All right, so next week we'll come down to the points since we both did pick it. Again, assuming the Packers do win the game, which is a pretty fair assumption, but any given Sunday, anything can happen. But I know we've been hinting at it. We're going to talk about the updated Packers-related playoff scenario. So here's what we got. It's a little bit simpler this week because we know that we've secured the number 2 seed. We can't lose that one. I think we can't lose it even if we lose to the Lions. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because Minnesota can't catch us anymore.
Well, I think from what ESPN was saying, there's a small chance we could fall to like the number 3 seed, but it ain't gonna happen.
Okay. All right. So assuming we do beat Detroit, we at least secure a number 2 seed. But if we want that home field advantage throughout the playoffs, here's what's got to happen. If the Packers do beat Detroit, they can get that number 1 overall seed. If the Niners lose to the Seahawks, which you said is the Sunday night game, I misspoke earlier and said it was a Monday night game. But it is a Sunday night game. However, San Francisco has a head-to-head tiebreak over the Packers, which is why we need them to lose. So if they win in Week 17, the best the Packers will settle for is the number 2 seed. So basically, Green Bay is a fan of the Seahawks.
Man, that's not going to be easy to root for the Seahawks for a lot of Packers fans.
It's not, and it's going to be a tough game for the Seahawks to win. They are banged up like crazy. However, did you see that they're looking at bringing Marshawn Lynch back?
I actually heard right at the end of the game in the post-game show, right before coming up the stairs, that it is official as far as ESPN is concerned, that Marshawn Lynch is a Seahawk again. Who knows when he last played a game? I don't know. I'm just not a fan of Marshawn Lynch. But on the other hand, we all know how much I absolutely hate the 49ers. So in either event, I would be rooting for the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of Marshawn Lynch this week.
Bring the Skittles, because I'm sure he's hungry. And he loves those Skittles. I don't know. I don't understand that whole thing, but whatever. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But it's amazing that no matter how huge our victory is at high noon to 3 p.m. Central Time over the Lions, we all wait till late Sunday night or early Monday morning for our friends around the world to find out exactly what's going to happen. So at least it's simple this week, Scott.
Yeah, I'll take the simplicity. We don't have those basketball predictions. Like
right. We have strings on the wall with different arrows and charts. Yeah.
Yeah.
It all comes down to this. I still can't believe this is really happening. Join our Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversation at packerscommunity.com and start your own talking points as well. Some of the other recent posts you'll find there, which grow by the day, is our weekly post to discuss the game as it happens, which was pretty darn lively tonight.
And you'll also see a couple of our Packers Fan Podcast listeners calling me out for picking the purple ones this week. Hey, guys, I have never been more happy to be so wrong. It's okay. It was a smarter pick, though, and I still stand by it.
And the playoffs and the Lions are coming, and the chatter in the Facebook group is about to hit high gear.
There's plenty more to also, so be sure to check that out at packerscommunity.com.
Let's also go ahead and take a quick peek at a few things happening around the NFL this past weekend. Brett Hundley, former Packers backup quarterback, is now with the Cardinals, and he got put in due to injury to their starting quarterback. So Brett Hundley and the Cardinals beat the Seahawks in Seattle. It was amazing.
Which was crazy. Yeah, the end of that game was insane. They overturned that final touchdown and then re-overturned it, and it was kind of crazy. But yeah, good for Brett Hundley.
Yes,
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Thank you, Brett Hundley. Packers fans, still thank you. It shows that the Seahawks are very vulnerable, even in Seattle. It's not the unbeatable stadium that it used to be because they're so banged up, but they were on a short week, and now they get a full week of rest, so better luck this week, Seahawks.
Yes, please win. Please win. Also, the Bengals have secured the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft, which is pretty sad considering it's only week 16, but yeah, they've won something. So they got that going for them.
They're number 1. That poor team, that management, the whole thing. And the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Cowboys was very nice because anytime the Cowboys lose, it's a good day for America. And so now Philly has the lead at winning their division, which is still not all that good. But
yeah, they're not going to make it very far. But
so with 1 week left in the regular season, the NFC North has the Packers at 12-3. The Vikings at 10-5. That's too bad. The Bears are 7-8, and the Lions are 3-10-1 for now. So we'll see what happens next week. And with that, I want to remind you that New Year's Day is coming. You know, of course, Christmas first and the Lions game and all the good stuff. But then New Year's Day and brand new episodes of Doctor Who on BBC and BBC America. And my Don't Blink podcast devoted to Doctor Who returns a couple of days after that. So check it out at don'tblinkpodcast.com. And Scott, what else are you talking about these days besides your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers?
Oh, you know I'm always talking about video games, brother. And if you love to play them as much as I do, please check out my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider, which can be heard the same place you listen to this one. We are actually taking a couple weeks off from the regular podcast episodes. However, we have compiled some bonus episodes during Christmas and New Year's. So if you've never listened to the show and want to kind of get an idea of what we do, check out the episodes that will air shortly after this one airs. The first one being, actually, it's available right now. We did a compilation of some of our best interviews. I got a chance to interview several voice actors from video games over the years. We interviewed John St. John, who is the voice actor behind Duke Nukem. We interviewed Patricia Somerset, who's the voice of Princess Zelda in Breath of the Wild. And we also interviewed Roger Craig Smith, who's done a ton of characters, but you might know him most as Ezio Auditore from the Assassin's Creed series, and he also plays Sonic the Hedgehog. So we're going to be talking about that, and then we did another compilation episode where we did some of our best topics throughout the 2019 season. So be sure to check that out at thegamingoutsider.com.
Awesome stuff. And the other day when the kids and grandkids were visiting for one of our early Christmases, my grandkids were showing me all the secrets behind Fortnite, and I thought of you and the Gaming Outsider podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to suffer through that, Wayne.
They were pretty intense. I guess there's all sorts of Star Wars mods, and we, of course, were geeked up for Star Wars, so they're flying in on a Millennium Falcon, and I'm like, well, this is pretty interesting.
Well, it was actually a Star Wars event that was just this weekend in time for Star Wars. So all that stuff is not always available. It was brand new for that weekend.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad I could be a part of that. And the GamingOutsider.com also had quite a milestone just in the past couple days.
We did. We actually today, as of this recording, we published our 100th review of video games, which
That's
is it was a big, massive goal for me. Because when I say review, that means we did a written review as well as covered it on the podcast or did a video review on it, which is on YouTube. So very big accomplishment, especially considering 84 of those video games were ones that we did not have to pay for. We have gotten large enough that we are getting review copies from publishers and PR reps. So even though we don't get paid for doing the podcast, we get some free games now and then, which is a lot of fun to manage. Bryant, your continued support of the show at the $24 Willie Wood pledge level is epic and very much appreciated. Thank you, and go Pack Go. Also, thank you, and go Pack Go to Jared Machini-Kerr for his $12 support of the show. And also at the $12 a month level, our friends in the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics Facebook group. Go Pack Go, and thank you.
And at the Brett Favre $4 a month Patreon level, thank you, Lawrence Harvey and Jeff Summerfield, and Curly Lambeau, $1 a month supporters. Thank you so very much, Aaron Peterson at the Hollywood Outsider, Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts, Matt Haig, and Joe Christensen. Check out how you too can financially support the podcast at a level to match your budget. Even get cool Packers Fan Podcast logo merchandise. Details at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you, and go Pack, go!
And just a reminder, we are the unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we'd love to be, just saying. You can contact us at our email, which is media@PackersFanPodcast.com.
Follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. Follow Scott at GoCastScott. And follow me at Wayne Henderson. Please join our Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community. Again, that's at PackersCommunity.com. Join the conversation. And shortly after this podcast, I'm going to get my brand new victory scarf ready to wear tomorrow.
Awesome. And also be sure to get your feedback into us next week by Sunday night at 11 p.m. Central Time. Go to PackersFanPodcast.com, click the Contact Us button for details. Thanks so much for joining us on the Packers Fan Podcast.
And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, especially with playoffs coming very soon. It's time now for the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics group to get the Packers ready to roar over the Lions.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim. Hi, I'm Melissa. Hi, I'm Susan. Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack, go!